Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a great and wonderful day. And it comes to give you guys the dark news. Now, I said on my last video that we would be talking about the actual wars or the boats coming into Florida, the warships and whatnot. And I'm going to go over that with you guys. Because what I want you all to understand that the last video was to be a warning sign, and this is kind of a truth sign of what's really going on and what your daughters, what your sons, mostly just your sons, by the way, will be going to war if we continue to have this dictator of a Biden administration come forth and stay and stay with us, right? And what we have here from the New York Post saying Coast Guard, Navy track Russian ships on long distance missions sailing near Florida en route to Cuba. Now, granted, this is en route to Cuba and it's nearby, but there's going to be more to do to this. I'm going to go over it with you guys. A flotilla of Russian warships passed within hailing distance of Florida's eastern coastline Tuesday, with the U.S. Navy and Coast Guard following close behind, according to open source maritime and air tracking information. The Coast Guard cutter Stone Navy guided missile destroyers USS Truxtun and USS Donald Cook and the Royal Canadian Navy frigate HMCS Ville de Quebec sailed after 4 Russian vessels reportedly headed to Cuba, according to online maritime trackers. A Navy Poseidon surveillance aircraft was also spotted in the region. The Russian flotilla, which includes the frigate Admiral Groskov, tanker Atomic Passion, rescue tug Nikolai Chiker, and nuclear-powered submarine Kazan, is expected to make a port visit to Havana Wednesday through Monday. The group left Severomorsk, Russia in May, with plans to spend several months performing long-distance missions across the world to show the flag and ensure a naval presence in operationally important areas of the far ocean zone, according to Russian state media agency TASS. Moscow's presence so close to U.S. shores comes as representatives of nearly 100 countries across the world prepared to attend this weekend's Ukraine Peace Summit in Lucerne, Switzerland. The meeting, to which Russia was not invited, was arranged by the Swiss and Ukrainian governments with the intention to develop a pathway to end the war in Ukraine. The Navy and Coast Guard did not immediately respond to the Post's request for comment. However, the Navy's Second Fleet, which covers the Atlantic Ocean, announced Thursday on X that the Truxtun, as well as the Coast Guard and Canadian ships, were conducting joint ops in the Atlantic. So, that's what's going on here. So, we have literal Russian ships, long distance missions, sailing near Florida, near our own country. That is kind of terrifying if you ask me, and I have never in my life, I've been on this planet for 31 bloody years, alright? 31 years, and I'm telling you right now that I have never came close to being anywhere near close to this type of war or of that, it's very concerning that after all these years I've been on this planet, we're super close to a actual World War III, all because of the premise of Joe Biden really just messing things up and pushing more war and funding Ukraine. What we have here is more. We have U.S. Navy shadowing Russian flotilla of Florida coast, satellite data. It says U.S. naval and air assets appear to be shadowing Russian warships that pass Florida's eastern coast on their way to make port in Cuba. Open source maritime and aerial tracking data has revealed. Open source intelligence analysis on Tuesday posted updates showing the CG Stone Coast Guard vessel, the USS Truxtun and USS Donald Cook destroyers, and the Royal Canadian Navy frigate HMCS Ville de Quebec traveling southwards down the Florida coast, etc., etc., etc. Now they are above them, at least on the U.S. Navy P-8A Poseidon and Canadian CP-140 Aurora, appear to be conducting surveillance, as and that and other OSINT social media channels flow the progress of the shadowing vessels and aircraft through Tuesday morning, passing north to south along the Miami coast as of 6 a.m. ET. Could be seen on the Vessel Finder website in 25 miles east of Miami. A State Department spokesperson told Newsweek the U.S. anticipates heightened naval and air activity near the United States this summer. These actions will accumulate in a global Russian naval exercise this fall, the spokesperson added. Russia will temporarily send combat naval vessels to the Caribbean region, and these ships will likely conduct port calls in Cuba and possibly Venezuela. Russia's four-ship group visiting Cuba is made up of the Gorshchev frigate, the nuclear-powered submarine Kazan, and the fleet oil tanker Passion, and the rescue tug Nikolai Chiker, according to the Foreign Ministry in Havana. This goes on to say here that a report by the Russian state-owned RIA Novosti news agency on Tuesday cited the commander-in-chief of Russia's naval forces as saying that the flotilla would arrive in Cuba on Wednesday, which that happens to be today, my friends. The visit has been interpreted as a part of Moscow's response to deeper NATO commitments to Ukraine, particularly the White House approval for Ukrainian forces to use American weapons within Russian borders, though the Pentagon has said the visit poses no immediate threat. I don't really care what the Pentagon says, because the Pentagon are full of warmongers, in my personal opinion, and any of the Pentagon says that is not a threat, I will probably deem as a threat. Because, again, you guys are funding Ukraine. You are prolonging this war. If you did not prolong this war, this probably would have ended months ago. But it's not ending because you keep on funding Ukraine. Or keep on trying to keep on doing stuff like this. And we're going to be like, what is the point in all of this? It's like, do you want to be at war? Do we want to have a World War III? It's like, oh, well, to prevent Russia from entering other countries. Well, if that is the case, even if it was the case, just know we have to wait to see on what's going on here. Because right now, I see nothing good of Ukraine. Ukraine, as we said, has already put American people, American citizens, on a kill list. Last time I checked, Russia hasn't done that yet. The ones that are attacking Ukraine have not put Americans on a kill list. However, the people, the Ukrainians, Zelensky has put Americans on a kill list that we're supporting him on. That's insanity. We should immediately defund everything from what he's doing because he's just doing that. But we have more. We have Russia and Belarus begin second stage of tactical nuclear weapons drills. Russia and Belarus have begun the second stage of tactical nuclear weapon drills, part of Moscow's efforts to discourage the West from ramping up support for Ukraine. And I don't want support from Ukraine. How many people actually want support from Ukraine? I'm genuinely curious on why we want to support Ukraine at this point. Especially if we let the people know that we have Russian vessels very close to our country, to our own borders. It's not funny. Russia announced the exercises last month after French President Emmanuel Macron and said he would not roll out deploying troops to Ukraine under certain conditions, and the United States and some other NATO allies said Kiev was allowed to use Western-supplied weapons on targets in border areas of Russia. Now, when they say NATO allies as said Kiev was allowed to use Western-supplied weapons, that means U.S.-supplied weapons, guys. That's pretty much what that means, and Biden pretty much co-signed it. You guys know this already. I reported on this. So, that being said, Biden, in every stretch of way possible, is making World War III closer and closer by every single act that he's doing. And it goes on to say here that the first exercises took place last month and focused on preparation for nuclear missions and how to arm and deploy missiles. In the drills that began on Tuesday, the Russian Ministry of Defense said Russian and Belarusian troops would undergo joint training in non-strategic nuclear weapons used in combat. It said the exercise was aimed at maintaining the readiness of personnel and equipment to ensure the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the alliance between Russia and Belarus. Speaking to reporters, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the situation in Europe was quite tense and that such drills and maintaining combat readiness were important into the view of hostile decisions and actions by the U.S. and its allies in their daily provocations. So, I don't know about you guys, but they're preparing for nuclear war from the looks of it, or at least they're doing drills. They're preparing at the very least. And again, Joe Biden is in cahoots with this. Our own government is funding this. Joe Biden, the Democrats, and then we have the right Republicans doing this. So, I don't know about you, but perhaps we might want to put President Trump in. And here's my other part of the news that you guys probably don't know. We have this here from Defense News. It says, all men ages 18 to 26 would be automatically enrolled in the selective service system under a plan approved by a House committee Wednesday night. That's what's going on here. This is huge. This is massive. That means they are preparing for some type of war. Whether it's a war with Russia or a World War III, this means they're preparing something. And it goes on to say, lawmakers move to automate selective service registration for all men. A new plan from House lawmakers would automatically register men for a potential military draft when they hit age 18, avoiding potential legal consequences connected to failing to file the paperwork at the proper time. Language included in the House Armed Services Committee's draft of the Annual Defense Authorization Bill would mandate the automatic registration of all males between ages 18 and 26 living in America in the Selective Service System, the federal database used for a military draft in case of a national emergency. The system has been used for that purpose for 52 years, but men who fail to register can face a host of legal consequences, including forfeiture of eligibility for federal programs and possible jail time. But the number of individuals who have skipped registering has increased in recent years, in large part because registration options were removed from the federal student loan process 2 years ago. That accounted for nearly a quarter of all registrations in prior years. So, Representative Chrissy Hulan, this is a Democrat, mind you, sponsored the automatic registration language and called it both a money-saving and common-sense reform. A Democrat person is saying this, guys. A Democrat person is saying this, all right? So, I don't know what to tell you guys. If you Democrats, if you leftists or progressives don't want to go to war, don't want to deal with this, then you probably should stop voting for Democrats. This is the individual that we're talking about here. This is the person that signed this and allowed this to go through. So, I want you guys to know, all you kids that are voting for the Democratic Party, that are voting for Biden and stuff like that, know that you are signing yourselves to be part of a war that may actually happen, potentially, where 18 to 26, where your ass is going to be on the line, where you are going to put your body on the line for our country that puts it in a war that we shouldn't even be in to begin with. That they to line the pockets of themselves. It's not that we're getting attacked, right? America is not getting attacked. Not yet, anyways. We're not getting attacked. But the war that the Biden administration is pushing towards people and wanting to make everything worse is what's doing it. You Democratic people said, Trump was going to put us into war. Well, guess what? That doesn't seem to be the case, because it looks like Joe Biden's been pushing the war even further than ever before, and you have your own Democratic Party, by the way, says DPA district, the Democrats are pushing for more war than anything, and 18 to 26. So that means all of you, besides me, that are old Asian folk, we get to pass, but your ass is going to be on the line. Remember that the next time you put that vote in for the Democratic Party. Remember, because you know that the Democrats are going to use your blood to fund their money and become richer. That's just the reality of things. And I think everybody understands this by now. I don't want my friends going to war. I don't want my family going to war. I don't want my great nephew going to war or futuring a future war or a changed country because some idiots want to vote Democratic and put us into another war. It's absolutely asinine. I don't want this for anybody. But apparently, if we vote for Democrats or we keep Trump out, that's exactly what's going to happen. Because everything that we see here, guys, every last article that I've seen here is leading us to a bigger war or a actual potential war against multiple countries, if not at least one country. And we need to put an end to it, and we need to kick Biden and the Democrats out permanently. Alright, guys, that's it from the video. Like, subscribe, share. As always, take care, my friends.
I'm disgusted by what I see in public. Even people closest to us can't be trusted. Cause it's algorithmic disease, the social media.